The Spantex coating system is a flexible and waterproof sun deck coating that is user-friendly, low maintenance, and allows storage or a recreational living area beneath the deck. This superior coating system provides long-lasting protection from water, sunlight, and everyday spills. Spantex is scientifically formulated for all weather exposures and everyday use. In 3 easy steps, your deck will be waterproof, slip-resistant, and UV protected. This DVD provides complete instructions and handy tips for making your Spantex project as easy as possible. Before starting your Spantex project, be sure to calculate the amount of product and items you will need to do your deck. Our informative brochure has a handy quantity guide to quickly calculate average deck sizes, along with a material equation chart for the specific measurements of your deck. If you are acquiring a permit, be sure to check the building codes before you begin. The Spantex coating system can be applied over a variety of deck surfaces, including new plywood, pressure-treated plywood, fiberglass, Hypalon rubber coatings, raised concrete decks, and metal. The Spantex coating system can also be applied over some water-based deck coatings. Please check our brochure for a list of compatible coatings. Remember to always do a test patch with the Spantex products if you are in doubt of the surface you are coating. If you have an existing slotted lumber deck, it can be refitted to accommodate the Spantex coating system. A solid underlay such as sanded 3/4 or 5/8" tongue-and-groove plywood should be placed over the top of the plank decking, followed by the flashing around the perimeter. Spantex is the perfect solution for boat floors and docks because it is durable and it provides a slip-resistant, waterproof surface. It can also be used in many other applications like walkways and raised concrete decks, to name a few. When looking for the perfect day to do your project, we recommend taking precaution with extremely warm or cold weather. The perfect temperature is between 50 and 77 degrees. Direct sun or extreme heat on the deck will cause the product to dry too quickly, which will make it difficult to spread. If heat is in question, always test the deck surface with your hand. Place the palm of your hand on the deck and hold for 5 to 10 seconds. If you can keep your hand there comfortably without burning, the deck temperature is ready to apply the tough deck system. Do not apply Spantex if rain is in the forecast within 48 hours after application. To avoid damp conditions, do not apply late in the day when the dew point will be reached within 2 to 4 hours. With exception, Step 2 Rolltex may be applied late in the day. Building materials required when building your new deck. Joist hangers, optional pier pads for leveling your deck, post saddles for leveling your main beam to carry the joist, metal or wood cant strip for up against your home, non-return metal flashing for the perimeter of your deck, and sanded 3/4 to 5/8" tongue-and-groove fir or spruce plywood. If you are acquiring a permit, be sure to check the building codes prior to starting your project. These are the materials needed when prepping and applying the Spantex coating system. Hammer, tin snips, 3" bristle paintbrush, 2 10mm paint rollers, paint roller cage and extension handle, paint tray, paint stick, Spantex texture coat applicator, sponge, bucket, 3" putty knife, utility knife or scissors, galvanized 1 1/4" ring nails for the flashings, broom, 2" masking tape, drop cloth, belt sander, paint tray, and a pencil. We also highly recommend using a paint mixer and electric drill for mixing the Rolltex. We strongly recommend reading the Spantex brochure before starting your application. Be sure to use the tongue-and-groove plywood in a staggered pattern. Once this is in place and the deck has been swept, the cant strip and flashing can be installed. Wood cant strip can be used in place of metal cant strip. Install all cant strip and flashing with galvanized ring nails every 6 inches. When installing the flashing, be sure to leave a 1/4 inch space between the deck edge and the flashing. This prevents the flashing from warping. When installing flashing around the outside corners of the deck, mark off the edge of the deck with a pencil onto the top of the flashing. With the tin snips, cut along the pencil line to the edge. Then cut the small lip of the flashing in line with the pencil line. The flashing now bends easily around the outside corner. Always butt the flashings together to make a smoother finish. Be sure to sweep or vacuum the deck again prior to beginning the Step 1 primer. It is important to never substitute with any other filler. As an option before beginning, tape off the front of the flashing with 2-inch masking tape. To keep your siding clean, apply masking tape. If necessary, stir the joint filler. Apply the Spantex over the transition from the deck to the can strip. Embed the Spantex seam tape by rolling it evenly over the fill transition, then apply another thin coat of filler over the tape and smooth with the putty knife. Fill all flashing transitions and follow with the seam tape and thin coat of filler. All plywood seams must be filled and taped, and all screw indentations should be filled until flush. Let dry for 1 to 2 hours. Drying time will vary depending on temperature and the surface that you are applying the product to. If you have placed masking tape on the perimeter flashing during filling, it can now be removed. The masking tape on the siding should stay in place to protect it from application of Step 1 to Step 3. Be sure to sweep the deck prior to applying the primer. Stir the primate well. With the paintbrush, brush a generous coat of the primate onto the can strip and flashings. Pour the Step 1 primate into a paint tray and saturate the paint roller. Uniformly apply the primate to the deck surface. Be sure to use all required product for your size of deck. Once dry, reapply primate to any areas that look sparsely coated. Let dry for 1 to 2 hours. Drying time will vary depending on temperature and the surface type. Step 2 Roll-Tex is a dense coating that is meant to be applied at a rate that is considerably thicker than regular paint. Roll-Tex is to be applied in 2 separate applications. For best results, avoid applying texture coat in the direct sun or a hot deck surface. Applying in extreme heat causes the product to dry prematurely, which will considerably shorten the working time. An ideal time to apply is either in the shade, first thing in the morning, or last thing in the day. Please review the spread rates in our Spantex brochure. Check the spread rate after completing one sheet of plywood to be sure you're applying enough product. Prior to applying the Rolltex, 2-inch masking tape can be used to mask off the front of the flashing to avoid drips. Fill a clean bucket with water or have a wet sponge readily available. Keep the Rolltex applicator handy for smoothing the cut-in on the perimeter of the deck. With the 3-inch paintbrush, cut in the Rolltex approximately 4 to 6 inches wide around the perimeter of the deck. If needed, you can smooth shortly after with the wet Rolltex applicator. Once the perimeter has been texture coated, the extension handle can be attached to the Rolltex applicator. Attaching the extension handle is an option, and in some cases it may be easier to hold the applicator for more control. From the furthest point from the exit of the deck or inside corner, pour a 6 to 8 inch puddle onto the deck surface. This should cover approximately 4 to 6 square feet when spread out with the applicator. Using very light, consistent pressure, spread the puddle, moving the blade to evenly disperse the product. Spread the Rolltex in a consistent way using a left and right motion and pulling it towards you. On your last few passes, pull the blade down across the bare plywood to get the excess product off the blade. This helps keep the product from dripping from the applicator as you lift it to do another pass. For consistency, it also helps to smooth over the surface in the opposite direction than the first to smooth out any ridges. Be sure to lower the handle as you pull the blade towards you to keep the product consistent. Follow the procedure of pouring a puddle and lightly pulling the applicator for the entire deck. Remember to intermittently clean the applicator blade. Intermix the new bucket of Rolltex when you have reached the halfway point in your previous container and stir well. Remember, the extension handle is only an option. The applicator can be handheld if you require more control over a small section or an inside corner. Let your first application of Rolltex dry 2 to 4 hours. Drying time will vary depending on temperature, humidity, and surface type. Be sure the Rolltex is absolutely dry before continuing with your second application. It is important to completely clean the Rolltex applicator, the bucket of water, and the sponge after your first coat to be sure it is clean for the second application of Rolltex. Be sure to stir the Rolltex prior to the second application. Brush on your second cut-in of Rolltex around the perimeter of the deck and smooth with the Rolltex applicator if necessary. Start your second application of Rolltex in a different corner than the first and repeat the process of application. For any sparsely coated areas, be sure to cover these sections well so you have a sufficient wear layer. Let the second coat of Rolltex dry 2 to 4 hours. Drying time will vary depending on temperature, humidity, and surface type. Remove all masking tape from the front edge of the flashing. If necessary, cut away any dried excess Rolltex from the edge. Stir your tinted color coat well. With a paintbrush, generously coat the edges of the deck first with the color coat, and be sure to do the front of the flashings. Pour the color coat into the paint tray. If using the 3-gallon size, the roller can be dipped directly into the bucket. A paint tray will not be needed. Saturate the roller into the color coat, and starting from an area on the deck, like an inside corner or the furthest area away from the exit, generously apply the color coat over the entire deck surface. Be sure to intermix your containers when you reach the halfway mark in the container. Stir well and apply. Let dry for 1 to 2 hours or more until the color coat is dry. Drying time will vary depending on temperature and surface type. After the color coat is dried, a bead of polyurethane or butyl caulking should be applied to the transition between the can strip and building to prevent water from going behind the can strip. For 55 degrees Fahrenheit to 73 degrees Fahrenheit, let cure for at least 72 hours prior to wet weather conditions, light traffic, or deck furniture on surface. For 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, let cure for at least 48 hours prior to wet weather conditions, light traffic, or deck furniture on surface. Allow only light traffic for the first 14 days. For maintenance of your Spantex, reapply color coat every 2 to 3 years to keep a sufficient wear layer and to give it the much needed UV protection it requires. Now that the deck is complete, you will have a non-slip and splinter-free surface to enjoy with your family and friends. If you have applied the Tough Deck to a second-level deck, you will also have a sheltered and waterproof living space below to utilize for storage or covered living. Here's some helpful tips. If a faster drying time is required, or if you are working at the lower end of the temperature range, a forced air kerosene heater may be used. Never use bleach, harsh cleaners, or solvents on your Spantex coating, as it could damage it. For installation of railings, be sure to use polyurethane or butyl caulking for all screw holes, and be sure to caulk around the edges of the posts and can strip to house to ensure a watertight seal. Always check any caulked areas yearly to be sure it is still intact. Allow only light traffic for the first 14 days while the coating dries. Never use metal deck furniture without caps on the base of the legs, as this could cut into your Spantex coating. Use a plastic snow shovel to remove the snow from the surface. A metal snow shovel could gouge your Tough Deck coating. Use a mild all-purpose cleaner and degreaser to clean your Spantex system. If you have any further questions regarding application of your Spantex coating system or any of our other products, please contact us.